Well, I think it's a seminal day for Gibraltar. I think we've left an old-fashioned part of our history behind, and life in Gibraltar will never be the same again. What we are doing is looking for ourselves and for our children and our grandchildren to a more normal future, a more normal political future with leading lives much more like every other European lives. And in a sense, we are sowing the seeds of opportunities for our future generations that we and our past generations did not have and struggled with.
The Spanish Foreign Minister mentioned in his interview the last wall in continental Europe coming down with this as well. So not just a moment for us here in Gibraltar, but actually for Europe as a whole.
I think it's very important, and I think the Spanish Foreign Minister said something that I struck a chord with me, and that was that this provides opportunity, safe opportunity, and that's very important for us in Gibraltar. And it's also an example to the world at these very difficult times, he said, and he's absolutely right, that when everyone is resorting to firing drones and rockets at each other to solve international problems, little Gibraltar, the EU, Britain and Spain are demonstrating that between democrats, that is not the way. The way is this, negotiation and agreement.
Sir Peter, let me just put to you, for as long as we can remember, we have always had this difficult relationship with Spain. Now, this treaty has been hailed as a new era in relations, but can you imagine a future dynamic where we don't have that sort of distrust, that wariness of our neighbour? Is that always going to be a part of the Gibraltarian identity?
No, I hope not. I think it should always be part of the Gibraltarian identity to be vigilant, to make sure that arrangements of this sort, which are good and should be welcomed, are not abused as governments change in Spain. So vigilance is not a bad thing. But I do hope that from this, all change brings more change in its wake. And I do hope that this agreement will mean that we can start just feeling and living more normal. The sovereignty issue has not gone away. I heard Alvarez, the Spanish Foreign Minister, say that Spain's position on sovereignty was fully protected and remains unchanged. And good, because the equivalent of that is that our position remains unchanged and equally protected under the treaty. So we all went into this knowing that it was going to be sovereignty irrelevant, that it wasn't going to affect or prejudice or advance anybody's position on sovereignty, and the treaty achieves that, and that is to be welcome. But beyond that, vigilance, but let us now start living a little bit more normally, a little bit like other Europeans do, with normal political problems and normal personal problems and life problems, but not this idea that we're under some political siege. And Spain has got to now live up to a change in her behavior. It's not possible for this to happen, and for certain other things that have been happening in the past to continue to happen, or that have been said in the past to continue to be said. We are now off the blacklist. There's now no border. There is now normality. The Spanish Foreign Minister, I think, has spoken very well this evening. Now they've got to make it good permanently.
Sir Peter, I mean, you spoke about Mr. Alvarez and the comments that he made about sovereignty positions not changing. Some might take that as a bit of a threat, and we did have a lot of reaction from the public today. They've emailed us by the dozens, probably over 100 messages we received today, and a lot of them were expressing concerns about Spain, about the lack of the potential loss of Britishness in Gibraltar, about the Spain perhaps trying to impose itself on us through this treaty. What do you say to that? Because how long is that fear going to remain with us?
Well, I think it's understandable that people should have fears of that sort, just as I know that people have fears about the security issue and all that. These are entirely understandable changes from seminal concerns, from seminal changes of this kind. But there is nothing in this treaty that gives Spain the right to encroach, creeping or otherwise, on our affairs. We just need to be vigilant that they don't abuse what roles they have, which they don't have as the Spanish state. They have as the Schengen member state that neighbours us. And we've just got to be confident. Look, Gibraltar has got this far. We've defended ourselves politically with governments of all colours in Gibraltar. We've prospered socioeconomically like very few communities in Europe has done, because we've had the confidence that we have the ability and the courage to face anything that third parties or the world places in front of us, overcome them, and prosper notwithstanding. And this treaty is not going to be an exception to that. There is a huge amount of talent in Gibraltar, political, economic, social, and we're always going to produce people capable of ensuring that this treaty is never going to be a threat to us. It's always going to be an opportunity for our grandchildren. And we mustn't be frightened of change, particularly when the principal reason for our change is so that our future generations, our children and our grandchildren, can continue to enjoy the socio-economic prosperity that we have enjoyed in Gibraltar over the last 25 to 30 years. And it would be very unfair to deny them that, because we are like rabbits in a headlight, scared of change. So understandable concerns, but people should rest easy. None of these threats are going to materialize.
So Peter, on a personal level, how does it feel to see this chapter of life with the border closing?
I think it's really the same answer. I think that we have been the people that have had to live behind the last physical frontier barrier in Europe. It's not something that we should have been happy or proud to have been doing. It's come down now. We have therefore finally arrived, physically integrated into the great European family, and we should embrace the opportunities that it brings with the confidence that Gibraltarians have always had in our ability to protect ourselves, to promote our political interests and our political security, and our socio-economic prosperity on the back of it.
I'd like to pick up on something Juan Carmona said there about closing the economic gap between the Campo area and Gibraltar. I mean, it does sound a great ideology, you know, that shared prosperity, but how are we really going to grasp that? What does Gibraltar need to do to be able to, you know, take advantage of everything that the treaty offers?
Well, we are very well placed to do that, because Gibraltar is very experienced. Businessmen in Gibraltar are very experienced in seizing opportunities, not just cross-border, but internationally, facing north, south, east and west, and we will continue to do that. And in the wake of this comes the removal from the blacklist of tax havens, which is very positive for the finance sector and for the gaming industry. There are lots of positive things for our economy as it is today constituted. But it also, this new atmosphere, this new openness, this removal of part of the Levant, the political Levanta cloud that used to cling to the rock, will provide new opportunities for Gibraltar, which I believe we're equally well poised to seize. The extent to which the Campo will be able to seize depends, that their opportunities will depend on the extent to which they genuinely see Gibraltar as an ally, genuinely see Gibraltar as a commercial partner, and are willing to invest in seizing the opportunities jointly. If they do, they can benefit equally too. And I think Juan Carmona was right. The per capita income, the every economic measure between Gibraltar and the Campo de Gibraltar is heavily skewed in our favor. There is a huge imbalance in economic wealth between the two places, and the Linea is going to struggle, and the Campo is going to struggle whilst that remains the case. But if the Spanish government invests, if Europe invests, this will not be a threat to Gibraltar, because prosperity in the Campo is good for the economy of Gibraltar. Prosperity in the Campo and economic success in the Campo de Gibraltar is not a threat. It doesn't come at the expense of our economy. Our economies are always going to be very different. They will be complementary but different. And so we can both grow and prosper together. And wealth in the Campo is wealth that can be spent in Gibraltar to benefit our economy too. So I'm confident. We've got to be confident. We've got to be enthusiastic and seize the opportunities that will come our way.